I think we'll be starting. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar on Indonesia, the awakening giant in terms of Islamic economy and finance. I will be moderating. My name is Dery Habir. My co-moderator will be Mr. Feraldi Luis, Aldi, who is going to be taking care of most of our logistics, but in particular, he will be taking care of our question and answer period towards the end. Just a little bit of administration before we start with the opening. You notice there will be a question. There is a question and answer at the bottom of the screen. If you, during the course of the event, please put in your questions so that we can pick and choose which ones to feature in the question and answer period. There is a chat place where you can put in your comments in case you find some difficulty, for example, in hearing or make a comment with regard to the proceedings. Many of you have asked for e-certificates. That will be in the email. The place where you can get it is in the emails that you have received. And I think that is about it for the administration. I think then we can go to our opening speaker, who will open our webinar. He is Professor Dr. Aman Wirakarta Kusuma. He is our executive director at the IPMI International Business School. He is a former rector of IPB, Institute Pertanian Bogor. He is also a former ambassador of our ambassador to UNESCO in Paris, and a PhD from Wisconsin University. Please, Pa Aman, the floor is yours for the opening. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Dery. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to everyone. Dear Pak Dery, Pak Aldi, Pak Emir, Pak Roy, Pak Timan, and all the participants, welcome to IPMI Online Power Talk. We used to call it Power Talk, but since now using online, then Online Power Talk or webinar, which is jointly organized by IPMI K Center and the National Committee on Sharia Economy and Finance, which is the Director of Education and Research is Pak Emir. The title of the seminar is Islamic Economy and Finance on the World Stage, Indonesia, the Awakening Giant. So there is a basic question when we choose this topic, especially for Indonesian, when we as a nation of over 270 million population, mostly Muslim. What is Islamic economy and finance? All of you that have registered for this webinar is to find the answers to this question and many more on Islamic values-based businesses and why the whole world is interested. For that reason, today we are honored to have experts in their own fields with us in this webinar who will help us understand the what, the why, the how of doing business as prescribed by the teaching of Islam, but from different angles. We are very grateful and appreciate for their presence in our webinar. Along with the preparation of this seminar, we have conducted survey to the participants, and surprisingly that many of you are interested in these three areas: and international-oriented Islamic MBA programs, certification in halal supply chains, and certification in Islamic finance management. So with this background, we identified three distinguished experts as our speakers. Dr. Sultan Emir Hidayat, the Director of Education and Research from the National Committee on Sharia Economic and Finance. Professor Dr. Roy Samble, our distinguished Professor Chair for Finance Management of IPMI, and Professor Marco Timan, the CEO at LBB International, which is an expert on halal supply chains. So IPMI welcomes to all of you and thank you being with us today. And especially to Professor Roy is joining us from New York City in the US. When we speak on of Islamic business, the coverage is quite wide and diverse from small, medium, as well as large multinational companies that dominate global halal business. We can think of several large and up and more coming businesses that are based on Islamic values. Names like Wardah, Bank Muamalat would come to mind. But in reality, the majority of these businesses are micro, small, and medium scales. So it is then not surprising that our program has drawn the interest of Director of Ecopin, a business school for cooperatives in Bandung, West Java, who was a former governor of Bank Indonesia, and also former coordinating minister of economics, finance, and industry for Indonesia. So I would like also to welcome Dr. Burhanuddin Abdullah as a participant of this webinar. So ladies and gentlemen, before I finish my remark, as a professor of food science and technology, I would like also to underline the importance of halal assurance in all food supply chains, entities, and activities. The complexity of food products originated from so many food commodities and ingredients which are locally available or must be imported to Indonesia required assurance that these food materials are safe, nutritious, healthy, and halal for Muslim consumers. This has made the halal certification, authenticity, and traceability becoming important parts of food business in Indonesia, in addition to the food safety, quality, and nutrition. So finally, in closing my remarks, I will welcome to all of you to our IPMI webinar on Islamic economy and finance. Thank you. And I would like to extend my high appreciation to all the speakers, as well as the National Committee on Sharia Economics and Finance for co-organizing this online Power Talk webinar. And I wish you all to have a successful discussion and deliberation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Aman, particularly for taking the time out of your very busy schedule that you will be able to spend a few more minutes with us.
Yes.
Aldi, are we ready with the initial poll for the participants? No. Maybe he is not quite ready yet. In that case, let us go on to the first speaker. Our first speaker is Dr. Sultan Emir Hidayat, who is currently the. Oh, here we do. We do have the poll. So if the participants can answer this poll. This is a poll from Roy Sambil, and we will get to it later. that all right, Aldi? Okay. Sorry, I was interrupted. The next speaker is Dr. Sultan Emir Hidayat, who is currently the Director of Education and Research at the Indonesian National Islamic Economy and Finance Committee. He was an associate professor and head of business administration department, head of the business school at the University College of Bahrain for many years. And he is a PhD in Islamic banking and finance from the International Islamic University of Malaysia. So welcome to our webinar, Professor Dr. Emir. Please go ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. dari Habir. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wa bihi nasta'in ala umurid dunya waddin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Amma ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amma ba'du. Very good morning to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank IPMI International Business School for giving me the opportunity to share a very important topic. I'm sure that IPMI has done a very good research on choosing the topic, and it is very good topic. You name it very nicely, very well. Indonesia, our country, the awakening giant, and this is alhamdulillah really true, and it is inshallah we will sustain this status, and inshallah will enhance our status to be the global hub inshallah in the future, in the near future. So please allow me to share my slide, and before that I would like to greet respected Professor Aman Wirakata Kusuma. When I was in IPB University, he was director of the university. So you can think about the gap between me and him. So not only in terms of age, but absolutely in terms of knowledge and experience. Secondly, I would like also to greet respected scholars, Professor Roy Semble, and I believe he is also a graduate of IPB University like me. And then also Professor Marco Tiemann. Alhamdulillah, Professor, all of you are very respected scholars. Like Professor Marco Tiemann is also one of our consultants. Last year especially, he helped one of our directorates in KNIKS in many aspects of halal industry. So it's really excellent forum and really excellent panelists. So my presentation consists of several things. Maybe if you don't mind, can you move to the next slide, please? Pak Aldi. Pak Aldi, if you don't mind, can you move to the next slide? Yeah. Yeah, I will start with the overview of the global Islamic economy and then also Islamic economy in Indonesia. I'm going to explain a bit about my institution, and then I'm going to explain about the ecosystem of Islamic economy and finance in Indonesia. And then we are going to discuss, inshallah, the implementation plan of Islamic economy in Indonesia and some important strategic initiative for the development of Islamic economy in Indonesia. Next slide, please, Pak Aldi. Yeah, I will start with the global and Islamic economy. Next slide. It is true what Professor Aman said earlier, that when you are talking about Islamic economy, it's not only about banking. Yeah, this is a very narrow definition, and it's totally incorrect, or we can say not correct. When you only refer to Islamic banking, when you talk about Islamic economy, Islamic banking is only one of the segments within Islamic finance, and Islamic finance is also a part of the wider Islamic economy. When you are talking about Islamic economy, it consists of several sectors. For example, we have halal food, where Professor Tiemann is the expert in this regard. We have also modest fashion, and then media and recreation. We have also Muslim-friendly travel, and we have also halal pharmaceutical and cosmetics. And then all these 5 sectors, in 2018, the total spending of consumers around the globe, according to the State of Global Islamic Economy indicator, stood at 2.2 trillion US dollar, which is quite okay, which is quite a good number for business. And it is expected to grow at the rate of 5.2% CAGR up to 2024. And by that time, the total spending of global consumers on Islamic economy minus Islamic finance, it is expected around 3.2 trillion. When you combine it with Islamic finance alone, the total global assets stood at 2.5 trillion in 2018. So it is quite a significant amount of business, volume. What about the global players in this industry? This Islamic economy is for all. It is not exclusive for Muslims only. It is for everyone. As you can see, according to the report, for example, in the top 10 halal food, we can see at the number 3, it is mentioned there Brazil. And Brazil is known as the world's largest halal poultry exporters. Maybe later on, Prof. Tiemann can confirm this data. And at the number 4, Australia is known as the biggest halal beef exporter in the world. Also in other sectors, for example, we can see the modest fashion, Singapore, and then some other non-Muslim majority countries are also participating in this industry. What about our country, Indonesia? Alhamdulillah, last year, Alhamdulillah, Indonesia has been placed by the State of Global Islamic Economy Indicator report published by Dinar Standard and other organizations at number 5. And this is the biggest jump in terms of ranking, because in 2018, our country was placed at number 10. Alhamdulillah, we jumped five ranks from number 10 to number 5. That's why, to me, the title of this online Power Talk, Indonesia, the Awakening Giant, it's really relevant, because we were sleeping last time. And then that's why, despite we are the biggest Muslim country, we were sleeping. And then when we realized that it is a potential for us, opportunity for us, then we run, and alhamdulillah, the evidence we can see from our ranking at the global level. Next slide, please, Pak Aldi. And at the local context, as you can see, regularly every year, Majelis Ulama Indonesia, the National Islamic Scholars or Council, regularly holds like an award, halal award event. And last year, it was held during ISAF. As you can see here, all the brands that won the award are just normal brands, something that we are familiar with. For example, like Indomie. Who doesn't know Indomie in Indonesia? Unilever, almost all Unilever products are halal certified, and they won. Not to say all, maybe, but almost all. And then other brands, maybe some specific brands like Wardah, yeah, which is associated to Islamic name, yeah, Namira, yeah. But this is just something which is regular to us. Yeah. We know Indomie, Bimoli, and other things, but they are participating in the Islamic economy because their products are halal certified. Next slide, please. And in terms of the potential of halal industry to Indonesian economy, first, the total spending of Indonesian population for halal products and services in 2018 stood at 218.8 billion US dollar, which is quite okay. And it is expected to grow at the rate of 5.3% until 2025. And it contributes around 3.8 billion US dollar to Indonesian GDP. And the potential for this is still huge. Why? One of the factors, because the halal lifestyle literacy, alhamdulillah, keeps showing a positive trend in Indonesia. People, especially Muslims in Indonesia, started to realize the importance of halal lifestyle for themselves. Of course, this will influence the demand for halal products and services in the years to come. Outside that, in addition, as you can see that in Indonesia, we have a significant number of Islamic boarding schools. It is estimated around 26 to 27,000 Islamic boarding schools across Indonesia. And they have around almost 4 million students. It means this is a big market. And despite the halal industry is growing, Islamic economy is growing in Indonesia, we are still lacking of human resources in this industry. So that's why I totally believe the survey that you have done in IPMI International Business School and your plan to open an MBA program, for example, and especially you will deliver it in English as a medium of instruction, it will be, inshallah, a good step for IPMI. And we are at KNEKS will totally support this idea. And in fact, you already helped us last year because we know that you are very, very excellent in case study learning. And last year, we collaborated to create very important case studies about Islamic economy. And your faculty members, Pak Aldi and Pak Dery, were involved in this project. Next slide, please. Yeah, and this is the Indonesian achievement, yeah, last year. First, in terms of Muslim-friendly tourism, we have been placed by Crescent Rating and MasterCard as the top Muslim destination. It means we are at #1 in terms of the most favorite destination for Muslim travelers in the world, together with Malaysia in 2019. Our score was similar to Malaysia, 78. and also by Cambridge Institute of Islamic Finance, we are also placed at #1. But of course, each organization or institution, publisher of this ranking, they have different variables. They have different number of factors that they use in evaluating each country. Global Islamic Finance Report is dedicated only for Islamic finance, but Indonesia won because of the Islamic microfinance in Indonesia and the Islamic social finance in Indonesia. And then there is also Islamic Finance Development Report, IFDI, which is published by ICD, which is a subsidiary of Islamic Development Bank, together with Refinitiv, and they place us at #4, up from rank #10 in 2018. And also for the State of Global Islamic Economy, which is published by Dinar Standard, previously by Thomson Reuters, we were placed at #5, up from #10 last year. So Alhamdulillah, all the trends are showing positive trend or positive movement for Indonesia. That's why it is very true to say we are the awakening giant. Next slide, please. Yeah, I'm going to explain a bit about next. So Indonesian government is also very serious now in developing Islamic economy. In 2016, the government formed or established a national committee, which is called at the time National Committee for Islamic Finance, KNKS, which is mandated at the time to accelerate, expand, and advance the development of Islamic finance at the time. And surprisingly, it is directly chaired by His Excellency Joko Widodo, the President of the Republic of Indonesia. And then during one of the plenary meetings, the President mentioned that he doesn't want Indonesia only to focus on finance or on Islamic finance. He wants Indonesia to be the global hub for Islamic economy. And then for that reason, subsequently, Connect started to function and to include Islamic economy as one of its areas. And then to adjust with the new function in 2020, particularly in February 2020, the name of the committee was adjusted or modified by adding E in the middle of N and K to abbreviate economy. So for that, the function of KNEKS is also a bit modified, not only to accelerate, expand, and advance the development of Islamic finance, but also Islamic economy in order to strengthen the national economic resilience. And the scope of CONNEX, the areas of CONNEX or KNEKS has been widened as well, which include development of halal industry, development of Islamic financial industry, development of Islamic social finance, and the development and expansion of Islamic business activities. And we are at the committee have several functions. The main function are 4: to provide recommendation and strategic programs for the development of Islamic economy, and to coordinate, synchronize, and synergize the efforts of all stakeholders of Islamic economy in the country, and also to formulate and provide recommendation to any problems within Islamic economy, and of course to monitor and evaluate the implementation of the recommendation and the strategic programs related to Islamic economy in Indonesia. Next, please, Pak Aldi. Pak Aldi. Pak Aldi. Next.
Ali.
Yeah. This is the organizational structure of Connect. Yeah. Before Pak Aldi. Yeah. No. Sorry. Again. Yeah. Our chairman is the president, but the one who is in charge on daily matters is our vice president, and the secretary is Minister of Finance, and to run the organization on daily basis, we have a team which is called the executive management, chaired by an executive director, and there are 5 directors under him, and there are 15 members of CNEX, consisting of ministers and head of agencies and governor and others, of several important and related stakeholders of Islamic economy. Next. Again, this is the ecosystem of Islamic economy and finance in Indonesia that CNEX would like to develop. Yeah, if you can see that here, when it comes, we have to start from the below poverty line, because Islamic finance aims, actually, one of the objective of Sharia is to improve people's life, and that's why when we talk about Islamic economy, we should start from people who are below the poverty line. How Islamic economy can help them? Islamic economy has several important instruments. For example, like zakah. If we can utilize it properly, and if we can optimize zakah instrument, it is expected to help many people who are under the poverty line, to transform themselves into above the poverty line. In zakat term, from being mustahik, the recipient of zakat, into being muzakki, which is the payer of zakat. So this is where Islamic social finance plays its important role. And when someone has been upgraded to above poverty line, in Indonesia, we have several Islamic microfinance institutions. One of the important microfinance institution in Indonesia, it's called BMT, Baitul Mal wa Tamwil. And Baitul Mal wa Tamwil combines Islamic social finance in terms of zakah, wakaf, and then sadaqah, infaq, which is handled by its Baitul Mal function, and Islamic commercial finance, which is handled under its Tamwil function. It means they also give financing to micro and small enterprises, and it is also commercial, but at the same time still also mobilizing Islamic social fund to help them, because these micro and small enterprises, they are still vulnerable, even though they are maybe, let's say, already above the poverty line, but they could go down to below poverty line if they are not properly assisted. So there are many things that here, including wakaf bank, micro wakaf bank here, to help those MSMEs, and the way when they manage to transform themselves above and becoming bankable. So those who are served by Islamic microfinance institution, they are still regarded as unbankable. But when they reach the level of bankable, then if they, let's say, they are still relatively small or medium, they will be served by Islamic rural banks and Islamic fintechs. And as they go higher, bigger and bigger, then the commercial institution like Islamic banking will come, and later on, when they want to become a big companies, the mechanism in Islamic capital market will help them. And there are many sources of funds that can be utilized to develop this ecosystem, and the channeling of the funds are also various, including the infrastructure projects. So I'm not going to explain in very details, but it will take a lot of time. And of course, this needs supporting ecosystem in terms of human resources, research, law and regulation, digital payment, literacy, promotion, communication, and others. So it means it involves many expertise. We need many experts. We need expert in law. We need expert in communication to push this ecosystem working properly in Indonesia, inshallah, in the years to come. Next, please. Next slide, please, Pak Aldi. I'm sorry. About BMT, yeah. Oh, sorry, the previous one, Pak Aldi, because there's a delay, I guess. Yeah. Again, I already explained about BMT. BMT is a unique institution in Indonesia, the one that Indonesia should promote to the world, because Indonesia, the Islamic economy and finance in Indonesia, the uniqueness of our Islamic economy and finance, we always combine social and commercial aspects. For example, like in Baitul Mal wa Tamwil, I already explained to you, when it comes to Mal, Baitul Mal, this is the social part. The institution collect and distribute Islamic social funds in terms of zakah, infak, sadaqah. And although the institution itself is not social per se, because they have also commercial activities, the Tamwil, they accept deposit from members, they give financing to members using various Islamic contracts like murabaha, musyarakah, mudharabah, and others. This is the first example how Indonesia combined Islamic social and commercial finance. Next, please. Next slide. About Sukuk, please. Yeah. And Indonesia is also now one of the important players in the Sukuk industry at global level. If you can see the trend here, the number of Sukuk outstanding, the sovereign Sukuk outstanding increased significantly from 2013 2019, and it is expected to go higher. Means Sukuk plays more important role from year to years in terms of public finance. Also, similarly, in terms of corporate Sukuk is also increased. And the uniqueness of Indonesian Sukuk is it is retail. Some of them are retail based. You know, in other countries, Sukuk is not a retail instrument, but Indonesia, given we have a huge number of population and especially Muslim, we make it retail Sukuk. This is one of our uniqueness. Another uniqueness of Indonesia, we are the first nation that issued sovereign green Sukuk. Sukuk which is also in line with the SDGs, with the impact investment. So this is another good information for us. Next, please. About cash wakaf, link Sukuk. And again, in the Sukuk market, Indonesia also is leading in terms of how to combine social and commercial aspect. We have cash wakaf link Sukuk. Wakaf itself is actually Islamic social fund. Sukuk, which is actually instrument in Islamic capital market, commercial finance. And since it is issued by the government, it's also considered as public sector. So this instrument combine three sectors: social sector, capital market, and public or government. It means here the Wakaf fund will be invested in sovereign Sukuk issued by the government, and the government will use it for the development. But the return is also not given back to the investor, but it will be used for good activities again, for example, for education and for health and for other important projects. And obviously, cash wakaf link Sukuk is also in line with the SDGs. Next, please. Yeah. So this is the step of how Islamic economy development in Indonesia. In 2015, Bappenas, the National Planning Agency, Development and Planning Agency, they did a study with one of the international renowned consultants, why Indonesia cannot go out from the 5% trap of Islamic finance at the time, or Islamic banking particularly. And they came out with a master plan, which is called Master Plan of the Indonesian Islamic Finance Architecture, MAXI. And one of the recommendation in MAXI is to form a national committee that can coordinate, synergize the efforts of all stakeholders and to push Islamic finance in Indonesia into higher level. And in 2016, that recommendation was taken by the government, and the government formed KNKS, as I mentioned to you earlier. And then since the mandate has been widened, in 2018, we started to prepare the new master plan, which is more comprehensive. It is called Indonesian Islamic Economic Master Plan, or MAXI 2019-2024, which is launched by the president in 2019. And then last year, we created the implementation plans, which is actually derived from the MAXI. MAXI is very thick documents. There are many programs within MAXI, but which one to be done in 2020, which one to be done in 2021, 22, 23, and so on. So that's why we came out with the implementation plan, organizing all the initiative, all the programs within MAXI into phases to achieve our vision. And again, in 2020, our name has been changed into KNEKS. Next, please. Next slide, please. This is our master plan. The master plan is our roadmap to achieve our vision to become an independent, prosperous, and civilized country, and by becoming the world's leading Islamic economic center. We have 4 main strategies. I'm not going to explain it because due to the delimitation of the time. Next, please. And in the implementation plan from 2020 to 2024, and I would like to announce that IPMI International Business School was involved during the development of implementation plan. Prof. Aldi was there all the time with us in the FGDs, in the series of FGD. And each year we have the theme. 2020, we want to create a solid foundation for the development of Islamic economy and continue forward until 2024. Our goal to become the global Islamic economy and financial hub, inshallah, will be achieved. So this is the theme on each year. And from this theme, we also came out with several strategic initiatives. Next slide, please. So for 2020 until 2024, based on the focus group discussion we held last year, which are derived from the MAXI contents, we came out in total with 47 strategic initiatives, divided into several areas. 11 strategic initiatives related to development of Islamic economy and halal industry, 8 strategic initiatives related to product innovation, market deepening, and infrastructure development, and around 11 strategic initiatives were or are related to financial inclusion, Islamic social finance, and Islamic microfinance, and around 10 strategic initiatives related to external relation, promotion, and law, and around 7 strategic initiatives are related to education and research. So these are the derivative of MAXI. Yeah, MAXI contents are put into action plan. Next, and this will be my last slide. The 47 strategic initiatives are also divided into years. In 2020, we are going to do this 11 strategic initiative, and continue to 2021. This is the strategic initiative that we are going to do. 2022, these are the strategic initiative that we are going to do. 2023, these are the strategic initiative that we are going to do. And by the end of 2024, God's willing, inshallah, we will achieve our aim to become the global hub of Islamic economy and finance. The seriousness of the government and other sectors in developing Islamic economy in the country, this needs the support of the people as well. And of course, the higher education institution like IPMI International Business School. So inshallah, through our collaborative efforts, I believe, inshallah, we will be able to achieve our goal and our vision. With that, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emir. The reason why we had you up front is to give exactly what you have given, our overall strategy for Islamic economy and finance in Indonesia for the future. Thank you very much. Next, we will have Professor, our IPMI's distinguished Professor of Finance and Investment, Professor Roy Sembel, who needs no introduction because he's a prolific writer both in the popular press and in the academic press. We are needing to have the time, so I will not be giving your background, Roy, but you will be presenting to us getting towards how to improve the situation in the Islamic economy and improving Islamic economy by enhancing services and use of data. So please, Pak Roy, can you start?
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Dery. And Pak Aldi, please, the slides. Yeah. Starting from the beginning, but we will do it very fast because of the time limitation. If it is difficult for a slideshow, just using the same strategy as the previous one. Okay, while waiting for the slide, basically some of the slides are very similar to the slide from the previous, from the first speaker, Pak Sultan Emir Hidayat. Yeah. Okay, next, Pak Ali, next. Hello, next. Well, this is the short introduction. Next. Okay, if you want to contact me because the time is, and contact me through this. Next. Now we have already done this bank account polling, and then the result is most of this is still the result. So is that 64? Yes. Well, the total is not 100, though, Padi. Well, about 60-40 lah. Yeah. So still plenty of the participants of this seminar still don't have any Sharia account. Well, I'm a non-Muslim, but I have a Sharia account at one of the Sharia banks. Yeah, this is a little bit different. Yeah. Okay, next, Paldi. Next. Okay, we will have 3 agenda, but actually the first agenda, plenty of data already covered by Pak Sultan Emir Hidayat. Next. So the main ideas of the first part is there are some fundamental change in the world economy that will impact many things, including the creation of the new market, new industry structure, new firm structure, new business model structure. But last but not least, the important one is the new economic philosophy. Next. Next. Next slide, Pak Aldi. Now, there are several alternatives to the current philosophy. One of them is the Islamic economy, yeah? And the potential for Islamic economy is very huge, already covered by the first speaker. So we skip this slide. Next. Okay, already covered. Next. Next. So these are some data about Islamic economy in the world with several trillion US dollar possibilities. Yeah. Next. Pak Aldi, if it is too slow for the slideshow, we can use the regular slide, not the slideshow, yeah. And then based on some report, a recent report, actually those are plenty of opportunity still left, yeah, to be utilized, yeah. And then that's the global economy. That also happened for the Indonesian economy. It means that the potential is relatively very huge. However, currently the realization is relatively still limited. So huge potential, but still limited realization. Okay, Pak Aldi, where is the slide? That's the message from the first part of the presentation. We can move to the second part in the agenda. Next, skip. These are some numbers about the Islamic economy based on the last year report. Yeah, these are some of the realization in Indonesia in many different forms. So basically, the message from this data. Keep on terus Pak Adi, skip. Now, basically, the message from the first part is there are plenty of big opportunities. However, the realization is still small. Now, if it, okay, next we move to the second part. Now, everyone can see this picture. What animal do you see in this picture? Oh, okay. Most of the people will see only the fish. However, inside that picture, actually, there are plenty of other flying swan. Unfortunately, the slide is very slow, so we can skip this. The message from this slide is actually sometimes we only see the obvious one, but not the obvious. There are plenty of things that are not obvious, hidden, but if we can see from different angle, we can uncover the opportunities. How do we uncover the opportunities? By taking advantage of what we already have, but optimizing what we already have, internal resources, and also taking advantage of the external trend, and also creating something new, which is the innovation. So basically, if we summarize this is based on the intrapreneurship and entrepreneurship. Okay, next, Pak Aldi. Okay, next. Now we can always start with the existing product and using the blue ocean strategy framework. By modifying the existing product, we can create a new innovation by reusing something that is not needed by the customer, and then even eliminating things that completely not needed by the customer, so can reduce the cost while the service still there. And for the important thing that's still not there, we can create one, or even we erase the things that are already there, needed by the customer, but it's still too little for the customer. Okay, next. So increasing value and reducing costs. Next. Okay, for example, we can take advantage of the opportunities in the online e-banking and etc. Yeah, digital banking. So we can improve the service for the customer. By the way, we can skip the video because of time limitation. Okay, next slide. And this is the example of the opportunity based on some news from the media. Next. Next, Pak. Now, this is also some of the statistics already covered by the first speaker. Next. Okay, next. Now, how to take advantage of those opportunities? From the micro point of perspective, we need to build capacity. Yeah, Pak Sultan Emir mentioned before, lack of human resources. Yeah, so we have to build our brainware. This is borrowing from the IT terminology. So brainware is about human capital, and we have to develop the regulation and then standard operating procedure for the company. That is the software. Then of course we have to improve the infrastructure, the hardware, and all the product and service we offer to the customer. That is the marketware. And we need all the leaders to coordinate together to create a culture of creating value so that we can execute the strategy to achieve the common goal to improve the contribution of the Islamic finance to the overall Indonesian economy. Right now, the total number that is already mentioned by the Pak Sultan Emir Hidayat, it is still less than 10 trillion rupiah. Yeah, 10 trillion rupiah compared to our total GDP, which is about 15,000 trillion. 10 trillion rupiah is less than 0.1% of our GDP. While the number seems very high, the 10 trillion, almost 10 trillion, however, in terms of percentage, it's still very low, less than 0.1% of our total GDP. So hopefully by doing capacity building, we can improve the contribution. Next. So by, for example, increasing the service excellence, this is the comparison between the basic service and service excellence. For example, it's not only about competence, but also about other things. Yeah, about passion, not about timely, but also about engagement, not about the only meeting the expectation, but exceeding expectation. These are next. Next. Sorry, the connection is very, very slow. And this is also some components of the service excellence. Okay, next. So not only about the next. Not only about customer satisfaction, we don't stop at the customer satisfaction, but we need to go further into the customer loyalty by adding some components on top of the customer satisfaction. Next. Now, borrowing from the balanced scorecard approach, so what we need to build is to achieve the service excellence is about the learning and growth, which is the brainware, the internal business process, that is the software and then the hardware, the customer service, that is about the marketware, and finally, we can create value by increasing the contribution of Islamic economy to the overall economy. Next. Now, one other thing after the service excellence, we can also take advantage of the recent development, that is the big data analytics. This is the definition of the big data. Next. Well, this is a simple illustration. If before some of the pizza restaurant promised to deliver to your door 30 minutes after you order, in fact, using the big data, the pizza is ready 15 minutes before you order. Now, this is interesting, right? Because using the big data analytics, we can analyze the pattern of the customer buying behavior, so we can provide their needs even before the order they needed. Yeah. Okay. Next. So utilizing big data analytics, we can understand customer needs much earlier, so that we can prepare much earlier, and then we can improve our service to the customer. Next. So these are some example, big picture about how big data analytics can improve our business performance by understanding customer data that will lead us to provide sales increasing solution, by improving efficiency and effectiveness, and also by breakthrough some innovation through data. Next. Yeah, next. And then some business cases of application of big data analytics to support our business. For example, customer profiling, churn analysis, sentiment analysis, demand signaling. So we can understand the market better, the latent needs. Yeah. All right, that's the way to capture opportunities and the takeaways. Next, going to the takeaways. Yeah. Next. Next. So the message from the presentation is there are plenty of opportunities for the Islamic economics in Indonesia. Still the previous slide, please. But not yet realized. So we need better business perspective. For example, using the capacity building, intra and entrepreneurship, increasing the service excellence, and then utilize the big data analytics to achieve the objective. Next. Now, I want to convey some message that is the greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it. It's okay if our aim is too high, but we miss it. It's much better than we aim it too low, but we reach it and then we are satisfied with that. Then we move to the comfort zone. There are plenty of opportunity and we can realize that. Next. Now it's up to us to achieve that. Next. Now, this is the quotation from Pak Henry Ford saying this. If you think you can do it or you think you cannot do it, you are both right. If we believe that we can do it, at some point we will find the solution. But if you don't believe that we can do it, then our brain will stop thinking and there will be no solution. Next. Okay, that's it from me. Now, because my time is up, now, if later on you still want to contact me, this is the way to contact me using the email, using the social media, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, or contact me directly through my WhatsApp number, that is 0818-773-662. Next. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I give back the floor to Pak Dery Habir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pak Roy, true millennial. And thank you for providing the possibilities of what the Islamic economy can reach in the future. And thank you also very much for taking the time from New York to give your presentation. I know it's late in the evening, but hopefully you can get a good sleep. For those who do not know, Professor Roy Sembel has recovered, fortunately, almost fully from a positive diagnosis of COVID-19. He was recovering in New York, and he is fine now, and we expect to have you back soon in July. Thank you very much, Pak Roy. Okay.
Welcome.
We will now, oh, by the way, for all those who are participating, we will, I saw some questions regarding the material. We will be providing the material to all participants when this is over, as we have all of your emails. So don't worry, don't take notes, just enjoy the presentation. And we will be, the next presentation that we will be enjoying is the Halal, going even more specific, but I think very interesting, Halal supply chain strategy for Indonesia as a global Halal production hub, from somebody who has a lot of experience in this. And this is Professor Marco Tiemann, is the founder and chief executive officer of LBB International, a supply chain strategy consultancy and research firm, which does a lot of work, as Dr. Sultan Emir described, even here in Indonesia. So take the floor, Professor Kiman.
Dr. Derry, thank you so much for your introduction. I would also like to thank IPME International Business School for inviting me at this esteemed platform. I'm also excited and thrilled to know that so many people are listening to this and also even live via YouTube. So that is good news, and also shows the passion and commitment of Indonesia on the government's roadmap to make Indonesia the global halal hub. In my talk, I will be talking about halal supply chain strategies for Indonesia as global halal production hub. As Dr. Derry mentioned, I'm heading LB International consultancy firm. I also a full professor with Help University in Malaysia, and I'm also a research fellow with University Malaya Halal Research Center. And I've been doing research on halal supply chain for about 15 years as an academic, part-time academic over the last years. Next slide, please. I will be covering 3 topics. Halal supply chain goals for Indonesia. I'll be sharing a case study on modern halal valley, and also the way forward for Islamic economies such as Indonesia. Next slide, please. If you talk about halal supply chain goals, next slide, please. It's first of all good to realize that the halal industry is also shared by Dr. Sultan from KNEKS, that the halal industry is fast-growing industry, single digit, and for some industries even double digits. This is due to a fast-growing demographics of the number of Muslims. Indonesia is has the largest Muslim population in the world, but also the growth of the halal industry in width and depth. And with, I mean, there are new industries that are going for halal certification. It was earlier only food, now it's cosmetics, pharmaceutical, medical components, chemicals, paints, and many more products. So the halal industry is growing very fast. There's only one problem, is there's an enormous shortage of halal ingredients and additives with the right halal standard. So that is a bottleneck in the growth of the halal industry, I see. What we also have seen during the COVID crisis is that in Muslim countries, that they are very dependent on imports from non-Muslim countries. And so there's a lack of production capabilities in a lot of Islamic countries. Thirdly, also halal industries are highly fragmented. They are not working together. No, they are competing with each other. And also they have difficulty in upscaling, becoming from an SME to a large company, from a large company to a multinational. And then we talk about the global halal brands. Well, which is the largest halal brand today, halal food brand? It's Nestle, a Swiss brand, right? So there are very few brands from Islamic countries, from Muslim majority countries, in food, in cosmetics, in pharma. So a lot of work needs to be done. Also, it's good to realize that halal is moving from a product approach to a supply chain and value chain approach, which is quite complex to manage without a halal ecosystem. Next slide, please. So what are important Islamic foundations for Indonesia as I see? Next. First of all, as also highlighted by your president, Pak Jokowi in Indonesia, he says that we have to reduce and even eliminate dependence on imports. The COVID-19 shows that we are very dependent on imports, so we have to work on this as Indonesia. Next slide, please. Sorry, next point. Yeah. So Indonesia is blessed with a beautiful soil. I mean, it's a rich soil because of the volcanic soil. So we have a lot of manpower, a lot of people that need work. And so Indonesia can become the Intel inside. So in every halal product, in food, in cosmetics, in pharma, you have always Halal Indonesia in there, because Indonesia is not only the largest, has not only the largest Muslim population. No, Indonesia is the largest producer of halal for the world. Next point. Next. Thirdly, also, it's important that Indonesia is developing production clusters that are sustainable. So Modern Halal Valley, where I'm the project director, is an Indonesian innovation to develop a solid halal cluster. I will share with you more on that one next. Fourthly, an important Islamic economy foundation for Indonesia is that we need to create and control halal brand equity assets. Next. But what are halal brand equity assets now exactly? Next slide. There are three types of halal brand equity assets. The first halal brand equity asset class is an halal commodity. And so these are natural agriculture commodities, so as oil palm, rice, coffee, cocoa, and also minerals. Indonesia is already a big producer on that. But do we have big brands in here? We have Astra as oil palm giant, but they are very diversified and maybe they have not focused fully on creating that halal commodity. Who controls the halal trade of Indonesian natural commodities? It's often Singapore, right? It's not Indonesia that's controlling trade. Secondly, where is the halal logo? Indonesia is exporting a lot of raw materials, commodities, without Indonesia's halal logo from MUI or BPPH. This is a lost opportunity. Next. The second point, the halal brand equity asset class. The second one is the potential halal assets. So this is building a brand from scratch. So we have great brands already, such as Garuda Indonesia, Wardah, very impressive. Also in Malaysia, you can see them everywhere. And Indofood. So Indofood is a very focused company on food alone. I think there's a lot more potential for Indofood globally. It looks like they have hit the glass ceiling. And I think they need to develop new strategies and even take over companies under the Indofood brand, a company with great potential, I think, to bring Indonesian halal food to the world. Next. The last one, halal brand equity asset class, is acquired halal assets. We talk about Nestle, the largest halal food brand in the world. So can Bank Indonesia, can KNIKS buy Nestle, halal Nestle worldwide under Halal Indonesia? So that is an acquired halal asset. Or you can buy the food division of Unilever. So there are opportunities, I think, also to acquire businesses and halalize it globally and bring Halal Indonesia to the world. So I think definitely this should be important strategies for the Indonesian government, and also to create incentives for Indonesian industries to develop those important halal brand equity assets for Indonesia. Next one, next slide. So what are the supply chain goals I propose for Indonesia? First of all, I think Indonesia needs to develop solid halal production clusters. The cluster theory developed by Michael Porter and further developed by Michael Porter for the development of any industries has proven success. So I think there is value for Indonesia to develop production clusters throughout Indonesia, leveraging strong foundations in Indonesia of food, of ingredients, of skills available, so you can build production capabilities, add value to your agriculture products, and create new brands. Secondly, I think it's important that Indonesia should play a dominant role in producing halal ingredients and additives for the world, become the Intel inside. Thirdly, I think it's also important that Indonesia should take control of their commodities. Indonesia is the world's largest player on palm oil and a lot of other agriculture commodities. That should be controlled by Indonesia. It should be branded. Nothing should go out of Indonesia without Halal Indonesia as halal brand. So I don't understand why the palm oil companies are not all halal certified. They should be, and every single drop of palm oil that goes out of this country, Indonesia, should carry Halal Indonesia as logo. Finally, I love Indonesian food. All of us love Indonesian food, also outside the borders of Indonesia. So I come from Holland. We have everywhere Indonesian restaurants, and in many countries, also in the US as well, other parts of the world, there are Indonesian restaurants. Those Indonesian restaurants are currently supplied by traders from Thailand, in other words, Thai food. This is a missed opportunity, so also Indonesia should take control of trading to the restaurants, Indonesian restaurants all over the world, to promote Halal Indonesia also to consumers all over the world. Next slide, please. What I would like to share with you now is a case study on Modern Halal Valley. Modern Halal Valley is a halal park, a halal cluster as we call it, in Banten, Cikande, on the island of Java. It is 1 hour drive west of Jakarta. It is well connected to the seaports, various seaports, and also the national airport of Indonesia. Next slide. It is designed as a 500 hectares food plus cluster. So at the bottom of this diagram, you see agriculture production, so such as poultry. Also dry port, meaning there will be a connection of this halal park to the Indonesian railway system connecting to Tanjung Priok, which is excellent for sustainable transport of containers to and from the port to the park. There is place for industrial activities, production, logistics facilities, commercial activities. Also the national labs of the Halal Authority in Indonesia will be there, based at the Modern Halal Valley. Also space for SMEs, small medium enterprises, to have HACCP compliant facilities. So this is a great initiative in Indonesia to attract Indonesian industries to go here, as well as multinational players to produce halal for the world. Next slide, please. So Modern Halal Valley is a new generation of halal parks that provide a complete halal ecosystem that makes halal production simple for companies. It wants to produce halal for Indonesia and for the world. We also have started a program for farmers and SMEs to develop capabilities to produce ingredients and additives and create supply to big industries. Indonesia is a well-educated, low-cost and large labor force. A lot of Muslims in here, very well, excellent universities. So therefore, this will be an excellent base for advanced production here in Indonesia for the world. Modern Halal Valley also has market access to Indonesia itself, as well as excellent access to other attractive export markets. As shared before, Modern Halal Valley is well located along a highway. If I go from Jakarta to Modern Halal Valley, I'm there within 1 hour, no traffic jam, rail connection soon, excellent also sea and air connection. So this is the future, I believe, to produce halal for the world. Next slide, please. So what is needed for Indonesia to introduce halal parks? So I think it's first of all important to identify the relevant clusters in Indonesia, food clusters, but maybe also Islamic fashion clusters. Aceh is well known for coffee. So there are a lot of areas, strengths in the different parts of Indonesia that could contribute to make halal products for the world. So we have to identify those clusters that have real potential to boost Indonesia as global halal production hub. Also, we need to make a solid design, a solid master plan for halal clusters. I call that C4, meaning correct, consistent, complete, and clear design of halal clusters. When you set up a halal cluster, a good master plan, you also need to set up a cluster management organization. So that is also important to have that in place. With regards to government policies, what is needed is a halal park standard, and halal standard for halal parks in Indonesia. Also, incentives needs to be put in place for developers of halal parks as well as industrial players to make it attractive to be located in halal parks. In Malaysia, the government has given incentives to players to move into halal parks. So therefore, it's important Indonesia is also at par on international halal park developments. Important that companies that are located in halal parks have privileges regarding imports and exports. And also, when you want to set up a company in Indonesia, it is complex. So if you have special leniencies in terms of paid up capital and percentage of foreign ownership that allow you to operate, setting up a company in a halal park, I think that would be a great steps to make it attractive for companies to invest in halal parks. Next, please. So what is the way forward, I think, for Islamic economies? We know from the Holy Quran, it says in chapter 2, verse 168, eat of what on earth lawful and good. Well, it is a responsibility to consume halal, but also to produce halal equally. So I think it's important for Indonesia to take this responsibility and be the halal producer for the world. It's important, I think, that we develop halal clusters. So a halal cluster strategy is an important strategy for Islamic countries to develop industries. So I think KNKS is well positioned to drive that. Thirdly, I think it's important to leverage synergy advantages by working together. So those clusters in Indonesia need to work together with each other. Also, clusters need to work together with Indonesia and other countries. In fact, Modern Halal Valley, we launched in 2019 an initiative to create a halal cluster network where we are connecting to clusters in Malaysia, even in Spain, in also other parts of Asia, to create that connection, to leverage synergy advantages. So that's an initiative from Indonesia which already started, I think, which you should be proud of, and that Indonesia is leading this. Finally, I think we need to develop those halal brand equity asset classes, create new global brands. KNEKS should play a role in here, as well as Bank of Indonesia, to leverage and mobilize funds. Next slide, please. So with this, I would like to end my presentation. It's good to have some further discussions on this topic, and may peace be upon you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Marco Tiemann. I find that we have a fantastic panel during this time from Dr. Sultan Hidayat, who did the overall need of the ecosystem for halal economy in Indonesia, to the opportunities that are presented by Professor Roy Sembel, and now the specific initiatives and specific challenges that Professor Marco Tiemann has presented. Thank you also very much for keeping to the time, because I see that we still have the scheduled time for questions. And I think Aldi, as we have planned, can you take over on the questions, and if the panel will stick around so that they can answer the questions.
Thank you, Pak Dery. Okay, we have many questions, and some of them are already being answered by Professor Tiemann. Now, I would like to offer Dr. Emir, would you mind answering some of those questions that are in the Q&A? Are you able to see?
Okay, wait a minute.
It's in the center bottom of your screen.
there are many questions actually. Yeah.
Which ones do you which ones do you
Okay,
would select?
I'll try to answer some of them. The first one, in the world's economy, the overall, especially Indonesia, related to electronic money. Okay, about electronic money. If the question is in Indonesian language, but then I assume that it's asking about Islamic money. I would like to announce also a good news. Alhamdulillah, recently, layanan syariah Link Aja has been launched. It was launched in February, in about 2-3 months ago. So this will be the first Islamic digital payment in Indonesia. So let's say before we have many electronic money, but those Sharia compliant is like the first Sharia compliant Islamic electronic money is actually layanan syariah Link Aja. What are the main characteristics of this Islamic digital electronic money or payment? The first one, the money will be floated in Islamic banks only. So it means if you use layanan syariah Link Aja or Link Aja Syariah, we can call it Link Aja Syariah. So the money will be floated among the Islamic banks, especially state-owned banks like Bank Syariah Mandiri, Bank Rakyat Indonesia Syariah, yeah. And then BNI Syariah, Bank Negara Indonesia Syariah. Yeah. So this is the first one. The second thing, it can only be used to purchase halal goods and services. So you cannot use it, for example, for non-halal products and services. And the third one, the discount is given by the merchant instead of the Link Aja. So these are among the main characteristics of this layanan syariah Link Aja. Nomor 2, bagaimana cara penanganan terpuruk ekonomi di seluruh dunia disebabkan COVID? Apakah ada penanggulangan atau solusi kebangkitan umat bagi masyarakat yang tertimpa? Yeah, of course, COVID-19 is affecting all of us globally. But I assume you are asking what will be the, let's say, the solution from Islamic economy to minimize the impact. One of the solution is the optimize Islamic social finance, optimize zakah management, to optimize infak management, sadaqah management, wakaf management. In fact, zakah is the main one. Yeah. It can be used as one of the instruments for social safety net. We know that now with the COVID-19 outbreak, more people fell into poverty, and the need to have social security or social safety net is becoming more, and the amount of funds needed also huge. And if we depend on our budget, maybe it will be costly for us, because at the end the government has to finance it through borrowing. But actually, Islamic Social Fund can help and can minimize at least the burden. If, let's say, if we can optimize the Islamic Social Funds properly, the potential of zakah only in 2019, it is estimated around almost 250 trillion Indonesian rupiah. But the realization is only about 12 to 14 trillion. So a huge gap. If we can realize the potential, we did some estimation in KNIKS. If 92 I forgot the exact figure, 92%, let's say around 92% of this potential can be realized, it can help the government by 30%. It can reduce the burden of government by 30% to provide the social safety net. So this is one of the solution from Islamic economy. Although Islamic economy will not be able to solve this the whole problem, but at least minimize the impact. Sejauh mana manajemen Islam ekonomi sudah diterapkan di seluruh dunia dan apakah produk halal sudah diterapkan dengan benar?
Can I interrupt a moment, Prof. Emir?
Please, Aldi.
There are a couple of questions that I'd like to direct. The first one to Prof. Roy.
Yeah.
Talking about Indonesia, this comes from Ibu Dana. In
Yeah, I will answer that question.
Sorry?
Yeah, I will answer Abu Dana's questions.
Yes, you've read it?
Yeah, I've read it about the Sharia bank, right? Why
Yes.
the performance is still very low.
Yep.
So my suggestion is to set up the capacity building, like I mentioned before. The capacity building should be comprehensive, integrative, regarding the human capital development, that is the brainware, and then the software, the way to manage the company, to manage the bank, and the hardware, taking advantage of the technological development, using the e-banking, m-banking, big data analytics, etc. And then the marketware, how to create an innovation in terms of product that is based on the customer needs or customer latent needs that can be identified through the big data analytics. And don't forget, at the
Prof. Roy.
loyal.
Well, we lost you there for a moment, Prof. Roy. Could you repeat that, just the last sentence?
Okay, so again, using the capacity building that I mentioned before, the human capital, that is the brainware, the software, the management of the company, the strategy of the company, and also the hardware, the infrastructure, taking advantage of the technological development, and also all the big data analytics things. And last but not least, the marketware, that is the variation of the product and services based on the analysis of the customer needs, what customer really needs, and also based on the customer latent needs. The customer did not say it, do not say it, but actually they have the needs there, so that we can dig deeper using the big data analytics with some of the application of the big data analytics. Yeah. That's my short answer.
Thank you, Prof. Roy. Here's a question that came from our audience in YouTube. We have so many people registered and accessing this webinar. Some of them had to be moved to the YouTube live conference. And here's a question for Professor Tiemann. You've explained that to leverage Indonesia's potential of halal industry, there should be a halal clustering, which means leveling up the connectivity between areas or region in Indonesia by connecting each area's excellence of resources. In your experience, Professor Tiemann, countries that have implemented or implemented this clustering, how did you do it? And what's the government's approach needed to improve connectivities?
Thank you for your question. Clusters have been developed in many locations, successful clusters. So in Thailand, there's a successful automotive cluster. Silicon Valley in the US is a successful IT cluster. So clusters have been, I come from Holland. In Holland, we have a successful agriculture cluster based on glass houses. So there are many examples of successful halal clusters in the world. If you talk about halal clusters, this is quite new. I was one of the first academic to do research on halal clusters. I've also published on halal clusters where I looked at comparing Malaysia's halal cluster and the UAE halal cluster there. Malaysia government back in 2006, they developed a strategy to make Malaysia the halal hub, also based on the cluster approach. I was the architect behind the master plan for the Malaysian government. So we developed halal clusters and also halal parks were part of that. So Malaysia have more than 20 halal parks, or some of them already more than 10 years. That's the first generation of halal parks. I think it's now an opportunity to create the second generation of halal parks, such as Modern Halal Valley, which is based on the cluster approach and is connecting to other parts of Indonesia, what we are doing. So Indonesia championed in 2019 also the halal cluster network. So we have been connecting to other countries. I think that's essential. As Indonesia, certain ingredients you need to import because they are not grown here. There are not so many cows here, so the dairy, you probably need to import a lot of dairy-related products. Other products you can export to other clusters in Saudi Arabia, for example. So connectivity is important, and I'm very happy to see that the infrastructure is an important emphasis of the Indonesian government to create that logistics connectivity of excellent highways which are being built, also improvements of rail connection, and also the seaports and airports. So this is looking very good for Indonesia to lead this and to develop halal clusters, I think, throughout Indonesia. So leveraging on the strength of all those islands you have, seafood, fashion, agriculture produce like Aceh on coffee, and there are many, many more which I've forgotten now. So the potential is definitely there. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Tiemann. Here's one that is relevant to you, Dr. Emir, but maybe Prof. Freud can also add some. Someone asked for, how can one improve Islamic fintech industry? Can Islamic fintech help SME to solve funding problems?
Should I answer first, or Professor?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah, obviously, if you look at the ecosystem of Islamic economy and finance that we are proposing, Islamic fintech plays a very important role. Not after Zakah fund, and then a microfinance institution in the form of BMT, and then at the same level as Islamic rural banks or Bank Pembiayaan Rakyat Syariah, fintech plays a very important role here. And especially the pandemic, COVID-19 pushed, the need of fintech, because now we are more digital. We can say it. Yeah, a digital economy is really needed during this pandemic and even after the pandemic or post-pandemic COVID-19. So I'm sure Islamic fintech will play its role, especially to finance halal industries. And I think Professor Sembo already mentioned also, and most of the halal industry players in Indonesia are actually micro, small, and medium enterprises. It consists of 99.7% of the total business forms in Indonesia. And most of the MSMEs are actually Muslim. The players are Muslim, and by default they want their businesses, not if it is not all of them, majority of them, to be halal or Sharia compliant. So I'm sure the role of fintech in all aspects, not only in financing, also in payment system, will be much needed in the years to come.
Prof. Roy, you have anything to add to that? You are muted, sir. Hello.
Can you see my slide here?
Yes, yes, sir.
So one of my slides says that actually the fintech Sharia in Indonesia is booming. This is the news, and then there are always opportunities for the fintech Sharia to work together with the Muslim community all over Indonesia. For example, using the network of the mosque, network dari masjid-masjid, for example, and then they have the community of the of the small, micro, small, and medium enterprises among them. Yeah, by connecting all of those, then the potential growing for the fintech Sharia can be very, very huge. Yeah. That's it.
Thank you, Prof. Roy. Still relevant to fintech and banking. There was a question directed to Professor Thiemann. You answered it, but I don't think everybody is able to see the answer, Professor Thiemann. May I repeat that? And it says, many people said Sharia banks in Indonesia are operated like conventional banks. The Sharia is only a name labeled on the bank, but practically they aren't Sharia. What do you think of that?
Well, what I know from Islamic banking and finance, there are two problems. So first of all, SHIFT, international banking transfers. It appears to be interest-based, so that is not Sharia compliant. And secondly, is that for business needs. So if you are running a business, import, export, you need insurance for fire, for your factory. So for business needs, all your needs cannot be covered in terms of financing, insurance needs with a Sharia compliant alternative. For personal banking, however, and personal needs in terms of financing and also takaful, insurance, I think most of it, to my knowledge, has been covered for personal use. For businesses, not yet. So that's my comment.
Thank you for that. But can I invite for Dr. Emir to also participate in answering the question, please?
Thank you, Prof. Aldi. You know, actually, the problem is why some people are labeling Islamic banks as to be non-Sharia compliant. One of the main causes is actually about the literacy rate. Last year, OJK, or Financial Services Authority, released its newest survey, and Islamic financial literacy rate, or financial literacy for Sharia finance, stood only at 8.9%. It increased very slightly from 2016. So in 2016, it was 8.1. Now 8.9. So in other words, from 100 Indonesians, only 9 people are aware or well literate about instruments or Sharia compliant instruments or Islamic financial products. The rest they are actually not well literate. And this is the cause actually. When they look only at the outside, you know, when you look at the outside, maybe you think, oh, it's the same. At the end, it will be the same. They don't see the process behind. They don't see other aspect. Of course, I'm not saying that there are no weaknesses. Yeah. For example, like what has been mentioned by Prof. Thiemann. Yeah. But sometimes those weaknesses are also because of the necessity, because, you know, there is no other way. There is no room, maybe legal factors, other factors that force them to do that one. And in fact, in Islam, there is one qaida or maxim, which is called ad-daruratu tubihul mahdhurat. It means in case of any emergency or necessity dictates the rule. It means even if, let's say, it is non-Sharia compliant, but if you don't have any other option and you have to do it, you can do it just to fulfill the needs. So that is the maxim. So I'm sure if we can increase the literacy rate, and if we do more, even like today's event, inshallah, through this campaign and through education system, the literacy rate will improve, and those misunderstanding, misconception, inshallah, will be minimized.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Here is an interesting question, since we're talking about Islamic finance and economy. There's a question. Do you think that Islamic finance system is similar to social finance that has been practiced in Australia and West Europe, in opposite of capitalist system in the US? Or this is completely different? Anybody care to answer that? Prof. Roy, maybe?
Can you repeat the question again? It was disconnected for about 1 minute.
Okay. Do you think that Islamic finance system is similar to social finance that has been practiced in Australia and West Europe, in opposite capitalist system in the US? Or is this completely different?
Well, if we say completely different, it's not true. If we say completely the same, also it's not true. There are some intersection, yeah. Basically, it's about the ethical economics, about the compassionate economics, yeah, something like that. With the not just economic, just for profit, yeah, competition just for profit, but also for purpose, yeah. Combination of the profit and purpose is the similarity. Of course, the way to do this and then the philosophy behind this can be different. Yeah. So again, cannot be said completely the same or completely different, but there are some intersection, similarity with some of the components that I mentioned before. Using the heart, not only a profit, compassionate, and then some guidelines. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Roy. Would you like to add something, Prof. Emir? You're muted, sir.
I think Prof. Semba already explained it very well. In fact, this is the same answer when I asked one of my ex-students when I was in Bahrain. I used to have one student from France. In fact, I have many non-Muslim students taking Islamic finance courses in my class. And I asked Philip at the time, Philip, why are you interested in Islamic finance? And the same answer given by Prof. Semba came out from his mind. And if you can see from the ecosystem that I propose, it combines Islamic social aspect and commercial aspect. Islamic finance doesn't mean it's charity only, but it's not neglecting that aspect. And again, it is a value-based finance. Value-based finance, which is very much in line with ethical finance and responsible finance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prof. Roy, coming from New York, Prof. Emir, and Prof. Marco Timan from Malaysia. We've answered some questions. There are many, many, many more, but we're running out of time. May I return the floor to Prof. Dery?
Thank you, Aldi. I will not attempt to summarize what we have talked about. I would just like to think about two distinct themes that I think came out of this session. And the first is that Islamic economics and finance is global. Even when we talk about Indonesia as an awakening giant, we need to be thinking in terms of global, in terms of the supply chain, starting from here to global. At the same time, the second theme, I think, is the need for poverty alleviation that we're talking about. And that is a primary purpose of what we're talking about. And how does the globalization can impact on that? And we've had some specific concrete measures that Professor Marco Timan has talked about. And there are promising avenues, and perhaps there will be more creative challenges, creative means to overcome these issues. Now, I would just like to do my pleasant task of thanking the Sultan Emir Hidayat from KAN EKS. Thank you very much. We have worked together in the past, and I hope we will continue to work together. I think this is an exciting thing that is happening, and we at IPMI are very much looking forward to our cooperation, which, as you know, but other people may not know, we already have a formal MOU that will be keeping us together. And thank you very much, Professor Marco Tiemann, for contributing your vast experience, and hopefully we will also, as you have already been connected to KAN EKS, that you will continue to be a part of what we hope that we will be doing in this kind of area. Prof. Roy, thank you so much for taking the time out from New York late at night, and we trust that you are fully recovered from COVID-19, and we look forward to having you back here in Jakarta. I would also like to thank my colleagues, in particular Aldi, who we have been together organizing this webinar, and our assistants Balifi and Banyimas, who many of you have been in touch with, and Fajri, who's taking care of the technical aspects. But perhaps most of all, I would like to thank all the participants. I noticed that we have reached over 100, and we still have over 100. So I think it's a tribute to the panel who have given interesting presentations, but also thank you for your patience, the participants, for sometimes perhaps a bit slow on the moves in the PowerPoints, but we are all learning together on this. So thank you all very much, and unless Aldi, perhaps you will stick around for the administration stuff that you might want to tell the participants.
Thank you, Pak Dery. I just want to add, with regard to the participants, it's not just the hundreds that's on Zoom. There are many, 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 many more on YouTube who are watching, because we're live on YouTube. And we are going to be sending e-certificates if you ask for it. So please do email us for your request by sending to the email address in your invitation. And thank you for your participation with your questions. Although there are so many questions and thus interest in our activity on our particularly this webinar, we hope to do many more. I hope Prof. Emir Hidayat, Prof. Marco Tiemann, and Prof. Roy Sembel and others would be interested in still joining us in other webinars in similar fashion, as well as similar topics. It seems that we do have people who are interested. So thank you again. We'll hope to see you in another opportunity. Back to you, Pak Dery.
No, thank you all very much, and that's it for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Hi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Terima kasih banyak. Jumpa lagi.
Jumpa lagi.
Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you.
Prof. Sembel, take care of yourself there in New York.
Thank you.
From your
right.
junior in IPB.
Thank you. Bye.